Hi, hello, good morning, my young officers. Welcome to Unacademy UPSC Articulate YouTube channel. This is Nisha Nujumudeen, your educated Unacademy, an expert in Indian economy, current affairs, and MCQs. So here we are today with the regular current topics and news for UPSC Prelims 2022. So this is an early morning 6 a.m. live series. So we'll start the day with an amazing current affairs series of the day. And today, if you see, in this current topics in news early morning 6 a.m. class, we have an interesting topic from the category education. That is the ABC scheme called as the Academic Bank of Credit scheme. So we'll quickly have a look into the opportunities and challenges with the implementation of the so-called ABC scheme by the UGC. So now there is a reason why this particular scheme was put forward pertaining to the education perspective. So now you are going to connect the ABC scheme even with regard to the NEP, that is your National Education Policy and other related perspective as a whole. So a quick look into the entire scheme and a background understanding of the NEP policy, the further changes and other perspectives will be covered in this session. At the same time, when there's an opportunity, definitely there will be a challenge as well. That is the pros and cons of this particular implementation of this scheme and what you can do forward to overcome the challenges if it is there. So this is the way in which we'll be discussing the so-called topic, that is the ABC scheme, Academic Bank of Credit scheme. Clear? Yes, Deepesh, Karthik, good morning, early morning. I'm happy to see all of you back to the 6 a.m. live class. Good to see that. So tell me, how are you all? Yes? Okay. So before starting the session, as you all know, I'm one of Unacademy's top plus educator, handling a lot of plus sessions with regard to current affairs, economics, and MCQs. And also, if you see the time 6 a.m. and 6 p.m., block your calendars for my sessions exclusively. So the regular rituals, or let's say the regular series, will happen at 6 a.m. early morning in the very same YouTube channel with the so-called current topics and news from different subjects and domains. And the 6 p.m. will happen in the Unacademy free special live class platform. That is, can you see a link that is given in the chat box, guys? Click on that. It will take you to my Academy profile. Click the follow button to receive all the updates. And over here, if you see at 6 p.m. in the evening, you have these free special live classes called as UPSC level MCQs for Prelims 2022, a 360-degree coverage of the same as a whole. So along with the practicing of the series, a quick look into the UPSC level MCQs along with the proper to the point discussion or called as 360-degree coverage will also be done. So then you'll be able to have a clear-cut understanding of what the UPSC perspective of prelims preparation requires you to prepare as well. So don't miss this class. Every Monday to Saturday, you have it at 6 p.m. And to have a free access and to download the free content, use the code Nisha IAS Live. Not only for free class, even if you see there are various plus programs as well, by Unacademy Plus means the paid platform. To be in the rankers list, the UPSC toppers list like this the coming year as well. If you see around 179 plus learners, the last year has qualified from Unacademy. All of them, most of them are iconic learners. So if you want to be a part of it now, today being March month, let's welcome the month of March in an amazing way. Hannah, let's welcome the month with a lot of blossoms, with a lot of positivity. So does your preparation as well. So now if you see, instead of taking the breaks in your preparation strategy, nice to guys, to accelerate your preparation. Okay, if you are going for let's say 1 year or 2 year or 3 year Khan Academy subscription at a very reasonable, or let's say at a very normal manner, you will be getting an extra free month extension. So for that also the code is Nisha is live. And now there is something called as UA Lite. UA Lite means for the prelims and CSAT perspective, a test series has been launched. Just you need to pay only 3,000 and something. On top of that, you will get extra 10% discount on this 3,000 amount as well for 6 months and 4,000 1 year. So till tomorrow, that is 2nd March, this is going on, guys. Make the maximum out of this and make sure that you're not missing it out. Clear? And to be a part of all these batches and sub kuch, don't miss it. And there is plus and iconic. Iconic means premium subscription. I know you know about the details of that. So make sure that you're using this offer and getting the fullest out there. And you can even apply for loan, guys, because there can be nothing that can stop you with your preparation on Unacademy. So if you are low, you can even apply a loan. The CIBIL score is good, and accordingly you will be able to literally do your preparation properly, and the interest will be taken care by Unacademy as well. So since it is March 1, I just want to brief out to you people regarding the various perspectives of the so-called topic as a whole. Clear? Is it very clear, all of you? Perfect. Yes, Devadarshini, good morning to you as well. So already, are you all ready to study the various current affairs through everyday stories around the world? You should be indeed. Come on, quickly give me a thumbs up. Let me see that. So today I'm so happy to see a lot of people have woken up early morning. Around 34 plus people are there in the class, live class. Good to see the crowd. So before starting the class, as always, you need to welcome your day with an amazing inspiration or motivational quote out there. And what is that? Here we go. The pages of yesterday cannot be revised, but the pages of tomorrow are blank and you hold the pen. So make it an inspiring story. That is a reality, guys. So it is all in your hand. It all depends upon the way in which you are going to really, modify it. Or let's say you are going to really make it to the fullest. Is it very clear, all of you? Perfect. So here we go. A quick look into the topic of discussion. So today, as I told you, we are going to have a look into the ABC. So you'll think that, ma'am, morning, you're waking up and coming and telling us the ABCs. What is this ABCs all about? Oh my goodness. See, ABC is the Academic Bank of Credit. Yes, Deepesh? You got your motivation of the day. Of course, it's for you people as well. There is no doubt in that. So here we go. Let's quickly have a look into the various opportunities, the challenges, why this particular topic is being discussed. Why do you think this particular scheme should be put forward? And what is the background of it, and followed by the way forward to have a holistic discussion. This is indeed a very important topic as well, my young officers. So as you all know, this comes under the subject area education. And now why are we studying this topic? Or let's say what is the context is very simple. Recently, a new initiative called as ABC scheme, Academic Bank of Credits in Higher Education. I repeat, in higher education. It was recently notified by whom? By the UGC, University Grants Commission. Based on this particular perspective only, this topic was brought into limelight. And this is indeed very important because it falls under the social indicator category, that is education. That is why more importance is given for this particular topic. And now, before going to the current affairs of this, you should understand why did UGC actually go ahead with such a kind of such a kind of a scheme, or why did UGC really wanted to make sure that okay, we are going forward with this? There should be some reasons out there, don't you think so? Yes. So let's quickly have a look into the background of this particular topic. If you see, we all know the NEP, that is National Education Policy of 2020. Now when that was brought in, it was very well clear that this particular National Education Policy, they want to revamp the so-called, let's say reform the so-called higher education system in our country, India. Why? Because they wanted to make sure that they are making the education more student-centric and multidisciplinary. We all know that. To reduce the burden, to make it more student-friendly, student-centric, and also multidisciplinary. So then the so-called perspective of education, or let's say the whole concept or idea of education totally changes. So this is something So this is, something which we also need to understand here. Clear? Is it clear, all of you? So now, in lieu of this particular perspective, what happened in lieu of this particular, perspective, what happened was like, the so-called, UGC, or let's say the National Education Policy background perspective, a new initiative called as ABC, Academic Bank of Credit, was notified by the University Grants Commission, or UGC. So then they'll be able to update what the higher education landscape in our country, India. Oh my goodness, I'm so happy to see the n number of students that has been there for the class. That's a brilliant go, early morning. So the month of March has been welcoming. So it's hitting a century, I believe. That's a great go. So to see the number of live learners out there. So now, as I was telling you people regarding this topic, so now basically for the higher education perspective and also basically, to have a clear understanding of how exactly it works only, the so-called academic bank of credit scheme was put forward by whom? Was put forward by the so-called UGC. And don't you think so? Such kind of scheme is really required. So when you talk about the academic bank of credit, okay, you will understand that, okay, it is very important that we need to actually go through. We need to actually, go through the NEP, and we have to really welcome this initiative. But then if you see, though that is the case also, kabhi it's very important for us to understand that everything has a lighter and a darker side. So though it is to update the higher education landscape of our country, India also, sometimes, few things are to be understood in that regard as a whole. Clear? So that is what we'll be discussing in today's session as a whole. So now, having understood that the national education policy, okay, they want to revamp the higher education. In lieu of that, only the so-called, ABC scheme is put forward. You should know what is NEP all about. Don't you think so, my young officers? Yes, Deepesh, Deva, Karthik, etc. Yes, of course, we should know. So if you see the so-called NEP of 2020, so with regard to the prelims perspective, this will be very useful for you people to have a quick look into what is the policy all about. A quick look into it for your better understanding. If you see the so-called NEP policy, okay, it has replaced the 34 years old, which means more than a 3-year decade old national policy in education. Since 1986, we had a so-called national policy in education. So just like that, fatafat, what did the government do? They made sure that they are actually replacing the so-called 34-year national policy in education. And now they said that let's actually have a student-friendly approach in the coming education system and perspective and make it more multidisciplinary. At the same time, they also said that the so-called national education policy will be 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3, which means you will not hereafter have your 10th standard board exam. The so-called fear of putting the child when he or she is just 15 will not be there anymore. Only directly in 12th standard you will have the board exam. At the same time, there will be no more courses like MPhil and other perspective. Oh my goodness, something, I myself and all, I have done my MPhil. So now if you see, it is even more interesting. For your PhD and all, there is no need for you to have an MPhil and all. That and all is scrapped, or let's say taken out under the UGC perspective. So multiple new initiatives for, making the education more productive and more refined. This was brought in. And this national education policy, if you see, it's a comprehensive framework. Starting right from where? Yes, Deepesh. Starting right from the primary elementary education to the so-called higher education, as well as focusing on what? The vocational and also the practical training, both in rural as well as urban India. Okay, so this is something to be understood in that particular perspective as a whole. So now, having understood this, it's very, very important for us to understand that it's very important, for us to understand that this national education policy is indeed the need of the day, or let's say need of the hour. No doubt in it. So this is something which we have to welcome. So in lieu of this particular policy only, what happened, guys? We had the ABC, that is Academic Bank of Credit, which has been brought in. Is it clear? And now, if you quickly have a look into the history of the national education policy, I think that all of you would have known about the NEP, that is National Education Policy, to a greater extent. If you really have a look into the, or let's say, look into the brief history of the so-called NEP, this is not a new thing. Okay, already we had so many policies, but the current NEP policy of 2020 has been a huge revolution because it has replaced the so-called 34-year-old national education policy, and a lot of importance has been brought into it, because to make a major transformational reforms in the education sector in our country, India, only the so-called policy was put forward. If you see in the year 1952 to 53, we had something called as SEC. What is that? Secondary Education Commission. Yeah, they were doing the works in more or less a better manner and things were fine. Then if you see in the year 1968, you had National Policy in Education. It was also the same thing, the same education policy with a lot of inputs brought in by the government, taking into consideration that particular year and perspective. Then again in the year 1986, they made a new revisions in the so-called national policy in education, and that continued for around 30 years. But somewhere or the other, still the issues of illiteracy problems, still the issues of higher education dropouts, and all these things had to be taken into consideration. And that is how, guys, in the year 2016, there was a committee called as TSR Subramanian Committee. Based on that report, here we have a discussion with regard to the so-called, NAP. And that was a draft again. And finally, in the year 2020, the so-called NAP was brought in by the government once again with the total change. Clear? So this is how actually the NAP works. And now, why do you think that such kind of national education policy should be there? If you see, the aim is to build an inclusive and equitable education system by the year 2030. Let me tell you that. By the year 2030. So now they want to make sure that in lieu of the SDG, Sustainable Development Goals, okay, in lieu of that, they want to make sure that they are building an inclusive and equitable education system, and they'll be able to achieve what 100% youth and adult literacy in our country India. See, literacy is something that is very important. If you see the condition of our country India, we can never say that we are having a very good literacy rate, except for the fact that the state of Kerala ranks #1 even with regard to international standards, right? Because 90% above literacy level you have even for the females out there. But overall, if you see for a country India, it is in the average level, let's say around 74 to 75%. So now, in order to make it 100% for the entire country India only, the so-called NEP was brought in, they are saying. At the same time, the second point is to increase the public investment in where? In the education sector. So then they'll be able to reach what? 6% of GDP at the earliest. No doubt in that. Because we know that the gross domestic product of a country India is indeed very important. So now, through education, or let's say the social indicators, which is again connected to the so-called concept, that is HDI, Human Development Index, yes, basically to increase the public investment in the so-called education sector, and also to make sure that the so-called GDP target of 6% is achieved at the very earliest. The NEP is brought in, because education do play a major role. Education is input and the output is what? The output is employment. Don't you think so, my young officers? Yes or no? Of course, it is, no doubt in that. So that is why this NEP was brought in. And at the same time, to increase the public investment in where? In the so-called education sector. Okay. And also at the same time, to make sure that, let's say, to enable an individual to study one or more specialized areas of interest at a deep level. So now, since you have a multidisciplinary approach, it becomes even more easier for us to take things into consideration. At the same time, in NEP, or let's say National Education Policy of 2020, they also aim, or let's say focus on developing character, then scientific temper, creativity, the spirit of service, and 21st century capabilities across a wide range of disciplines like your social sciences, your normal sciences, your arts, your humanities, etc., etc. So this is something which is a package of so many perspectives, my young officers, and that is why the so-called NEP was brought in. Now, taking into consideration the so-called NEP, we have a new scheme called as ABC, the Academic Bank of Credit. So let's quickly have a look into why this was recently notified by the UGC, called as ABC. Though we have the NEP also, why do you think an ABC should be brought in? So now this is set up by whom? As we all know, point number 1, the UGC, University Grants Commission. Now, what is the benefit of ABC is that under the National Education Policy, a new scheme called as ABC was proposed, because under the ABC, they said that the students will be given multiple entry and exit option. Let's say, for example, you have enrolled, okay, in a college in the current year 2022, you are doing, let's say, BA History or Economics or BSc, whatever. Now, due to few reasons, you had to leave after this one semester, or let's say after 1 year. So now you have to take a break for 1 or 2 years. Now, when you rejoin in the next year, or let's say after 2 years to some other college, you have to again join from the beginning. Your 12th standard will be a valid, qualification. The 1 year of time that you've spent for your degree or your graduation course will not be taken into consideration. That is how it is regularly happening. But now, as per the new NEP policy and the ABC credit scheme, you can start joining the so-called, another institution or the same institution that you left even after 2 years through the multiple entry perspective with a valid reason. You understand? So now you are joining from the second year. Your number of years are not wasted. At the same time, it is more student-centric and student-friendly. So they'll be able to manage it accordingly. You got the point? This is the sole reason why the ABC was proposed. And now, don't you think so, guys? Through such kind of initiative, or let's say the ABC, Academic Bank of Credit Card scheme, it is enabling the student to leave a degree or course and get a corresponding certification? Yes. Suddenly they want to join a diploma or certification. They can leave that and they can do that. And again, they can rejoin the studies as and when they want it after some particular point of time. So this will enable them to start from where they had left, instead of starting from the scratch once again and wasting another 1 more year. You got the point? So this is a whole idea regarding the ABC. Now you will think that, ma'am, just like that, if you keep allowing them to do, we can see multiple entry, multiple exit. See, The government and the UGC is not that foolish enough to allow people to just enter and exit like that. There should be valid reason. And now you know your Aadhaar card, you know your other identification card documents. Now similarly, a small chip will be given where all your details will be recorded in one particular portal, right from your 10th, your 12th certificates, your every year, where did you join, which college you studied, when did you exit, when are you entering. So instead of carrying all the files and documents to the each and every college and uploading them, this number, the so-called unique identification number with regard to the chip, will be provided. So all the details will come. So for the so-called digital India perspective and the revolution of all these things, this will be useful to a greater extent. Clear? And now through this ABC, if you see again, it will provide the students with a lot of flexibility because they can keep shuttling between institutes. For example, let's say the case of few people's parents, they'll be getting transfers from here and there, be it bank employees' children or teachers or let's say businessmen or government officials or whatever. So now today they'll be studying in Kerala. Tomorrow they have to go to Tamil Nadu or let's say Maharashtra or Delhi or wherever. So now they don't want to leave their parents. So now because of the option of the so-called NEP, National Education Policies ABC scheme, you can actually do that with the multiple enter and exit option because that's a valid reason. So even when you're pursuing one degree or whatever, you can still do the same. So there are multiple flexibility that is available out there. Okay. So now to talk more about the ABC, that is Academic Bank of Credit Card Scheme, I can tell you that what you should do for this is, as I told you, practically how this works is an undergraduate or let's say a postgraduate student. Okay, he or she, let's say for example, what you can do is you got to actually create an account where in the so-called online portal, the ABC portal, Academic Bank of Credit portal, and there you have to store all information. So you have the so-called Aadhaar number with you, where all your details with regard to your address, your proof of your residence, your phone number, your that, this, sub kuch is there, your identification and all this stuff. Similarly, with regard to education perspective, the very same thing will be taken into consideration. You got the point? Where in the so-called portal, all the information pertaining to the pertaining to whatever courses they have completed, what are the grades they have obtained, where they proper in attending the sessions, what was a valid reason why they had to quit it. So multiple things like that will be discussed where, or let's say will be uploaded in the so-called ABC portal. Clear? And these grades, they are stored for how many years? For around 5 years, they'll be storing these grades. That is indeed another interesting part. So now for another 5 years, you'll be able to have a great look into that as well. And now the whole point is it's giving a lot of flexibility and time for the students also to reform themselves. So this will be helpful when a student needs to get back to education after a break, or let's say he or she has to relocate to another city. Then they can easily carry forward their all the completed credits in the form of the so-called chip, or let's say in the ABC portal without any physical documents or whatever. So sab kuch, I can tell you that it's a part of what digitalization. Now you all tell me that, don't you think so? It's indeed a welcome initiative, yes or no? Quick. Yes, Wolfish. Even I do not know what is the thing. Anyways, so you tell me like, don't you all think so, guys? It's indeed something to be understood. Yes. Okay. So this is a welcome initiative, right, with regard to the ABC, Academic Bank of Credit Card Scheme. Now, to know more about this particular scheme, I can tell you that keeping in mind, yes, Deepesh, keeping in mind the so-called advantage or benefits of the ABC portal, as multiple institutes are connected to the so-called ABC portal. See, it's not like one or two institutes, guys. The entire institute coming of UGC will definitely be connected. So since a load of institutes are connected to the so-called portal, now a student can be formally enrolled in one university, but he or she can choose to take up what other courses from other universities also. And all of these would count towards what a student's degree. That's a beautiful thing. That is, you can study at the same time in Kerala and also Tamil Nadu University. That is officially or formally will be enrolled in one university. But then still you have a choice where you can take up, let's say, a BA triple majors a degree in 3 different subjects from some other university. You see, for example, you are studying a normal, you're taking a normal BA economics, or let's say you're taking a normal BA English or whatever. Now suddenly you got interested with the so-called triple majors degree, where you have 3 different subjects like economics, law, political science, and all coming up together. So now that is international standard, and that it has been found only in one particular university in Tamil Nadu, or let's say Chennai or somewhere like that. So what you will do now, through the facility of the Academic Bank of Credit in the so-called NEP policy scheme, though you're formally enrolled in one university also, you can definitely choose to take up what the other courses from the other universities also. So now all these are being counted with regard to what the degree for a student. And thus the so-called ABC scheme, they're also been extended for what? For including so many programs like SWAYAM. What is SWAYAM? An initiative by the government of India. We all know that. Or let's say the NPTL. So program like SWAYAM or NPTL, that is that is your National Program on Technology Enhancement, Enhanced Learning, and also SWAYAM initiative. So these kind of things are actually what? So are actually included in the so-called ABC scheme as a whole. Is it very clear, all of you? Perfect. Okay. And now through this ABC scheme, as I told you before also, a couple of other points is that it will make education more flexible. At the same time, interdisciplinary. That is very important, guys. You can shuffle from mathematics to economics to law to psychology to English, whatever it is. And now it is giving an offer, or let's say it's offering a chance for the students to enroll and learn from institutes like your IIT, or let's say IISER, the Indian Institute of Technology, or let's say the Indian Institute of Science, Education and Research. So people think that studying in IIT or let's say IIM is a great deal. Come on, that is of course a great deal for the fact that you need to get qualified in the so-called list and all. And now many people, in spite of them having the quality also, yes, Ramkumar, in spite of having the quality also, they will be rejected because of 0.1% or whatever. So now through the so-called flexibility of the Academic Bank of Credit scheme and also this portal, now the student is having a flexibility of getting enrolled when you are formally enrolled in one university, also to have a chance of you studying in the IIT as well. So that actually comes in your profile in your degree course as a whole. So your profile is getting more highlighted, or let's say it's getting more improvised. You got the point. So multiple things are there. Yes, Deepesh, what is it? We can share chocolates in multiple university every time. You will only think about chocolates. 2 to 3 on heads I'll give you now. You go start sharing chocolates there, then you can see what will happen. Anyways, back to class. So these are actually the benefits, or let's say the purpose why the scheme called as Academic Bank of Credit under the NEP policy 2020 was brought in. Clear? And we all know that previously, if you see the Ministry of Education, the Ministry of Human Resource, that MHRD was actually changed to Ministry of Education. Today we call it as Ministry of Education. So previously you had what? 10 plus 2 plus 4 and 3 years we had. Or let's say 10 plus 2 to 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4 is what we can see today. So you had 10 plus 2, 10 degree, then 2 your pre-degree course, 11th and 12th, then your plus 4 or plus 3. If it is under degree, I mean, if it's an arts course means plus 3, if it's engineering or medical means plus 4. That's what we normally used to follow. But currently they're saying that let's actually shift it from 10 plus 2 to 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4. What is that? That is covering the schooling, that is a policy where the schooling is from class 1 to 10, 6 to 8 is 6 to 16, and then 11 to 12, which comprise of age group of 16 to 18, is now being changed to the so-called 5 years of fundamental or elementary or foundational education, then the 3 years of preparatory, and again the 3 of middle and 4 years of secondary schooling to make the children more effective and more improvised. Yes, SKY, good morning to you as well. Hey, I'm so happy today, to see the number of crowd popping up like anything. Early morning itself, people are using their brains or what? Brilliant, yeah. Kya baat hai? Good. Did you understand? And thus, even if you see, there is a multiple, flexibility with regard to the choosage of subjects, topics, universities, and even it is multilinguals. That is, there is something called as 3-language policy, which is to be continued with preference for local language made of instruction till class 8. So multiple things like this has also been taken into consideration, guys. And if you see, with regard to schools, okay, normally, when I was studying Chalo, we used to carry all the accountancy textbooks, the commerce textbooks, the economics textbooks, the English textbooks, and also the notebooks for each subject. That actually I used to carry a heavy load early morning. Not only me, people who were of that 90s kids, or let's say the 2000 kids also same thing. But now they say that it's a huge burden on the students as a whole. So due to which they are saying that let's have a bagless days, which means that the school students, okay, will be given an opportunity to have 10 bagless days in a year, during which they are exposed to a vocation of choice. That is a kind of informal internship. So at the school level itself, you can see a vocational or a practical training given to them to modify them in a better manner. Now, at the same time, another important thing, another important thing is that for the college perspective, through the so-called ABC, that is Academic Bank of Credit Scheme and NEP, is that the SAT like college test, you will have the National Testing Agency. Why? Because you will be through that they'll be able to conduct the common college entrance exam twice a year. So college is also getting popularity. So does the students also having a wide choices. Then there'll be a 4-year bachelor degree. So normally we do it for 3 years, right? A bachelor degree is for basically 3 years. Now they said let us make it to 4 year for the fact that a 4-year multidisciplinary bachelor program will be preferred. So you'll be able to prevent the midterm dropouts. At the same time to give them also a credit or let's say a benefit even after a break and all multiple things like that for the college perspective has also been taken into consideration. And now the next important point is with regard to colleges, no affiliation will be there. That is, it is said that for the next 15 years, colleges will be given graded autonomy to give the degrees, affiliation with universities. So and affiliation with universities will actually end. So would the deemed university status also. This is something to be considered. That is, you have so many deemed universities and private universities out there. So all these things is also to be considered, guys. And also the fee cap, G local, all these kinds of things is very, very important to be considered with regard to what the so-called new ABC policy or credit. Clear? Now, having understood the importance or let's say the advantage, okay, this NEP is very good, the Academic Bank of Credit Scheme is also very good. But let me tell you something. Though that is the case also, do you really think that this particular scheme is worth enough? Is it really worth enough? It may be worth enough, provided for the fact that some things have to be understood in that particular manner as a whole. Hannah. So here we go. To have a quick look into the issues or challenges associated with what the implementation of the so-called ABC scheme. That is Academic Bank of Credit Card Scheme. Now, point number 1 is no mention of the selection process, guys. That is something to be understood. There is no mention at all with regard to what? To the selection process. Yes, Deepesh, I feel yes, but to some extent. That is true actually. See, to some extent all the things are good. But now, with regard to the implementation of the so-called ABC scheme, though all these things are very good to see on paper also, when it comes to implementation, of course, there are challenges or issues. But now after understanding what are the real issues and challenges and after doing a proper research, finding a way forward, a solution to overcome them is what we have to do. And that is what we are trying to do at the earliest. So then before implementation itself, we'll be able to, at least showcase it in the best manner. You understand? So thus if you see, excuse me. So thus if you see, the point number 1 with regard to the issues or challenges which is associated with the implementation of the scheme is no mention of the selection process. That is very true, guys. That is, they're not even talking regarding the selection process, how it happens and all. See, the ABC, Academic Bank of Credit Card Regulation, they tell us that the institute should allow up to 20% supernumerary seats for all the students who are enrolling through the so-called ABC scheme. So what is the meaning of that? The 20% supernumerary seats means, the meaning of that is this means that 20 extra seats. Okay, this would mean 20 extra seats if there are 100 regular students. I repeat, if there are 100 regular students, there will be 20 extra seats. That is called as the so-called 20% supernumerary seats. Whichever students are enrolling via the ABC scheme, they'll be given this opportunity. But for example, instead of 100, if there are 500 applications through the so-called Academic Bank of Credit Card Scheme, now what you will do? There is no mention regarding selection process. So now there is a loophole there. There's some sort of gap, gap over there. So this has to be what? This has to be rectified. You understand? So this is one important challenge associated with the implementation of the so-called ABC scheme. Clear? Now, the next thing is the problems with the assessment process. If you see the MOOC platforms, that is a massive open online courses platforms like your SWIME, NPTEL and all, they are basically designed for a very, very large enrollment. So let's say, for example, even if there is a, so let's say, for example, even if there, Okay, even if there is a kind of assessment through the MCQ, that is multiple choice question based test, they are also designed. Clear? And now the next important point is the MCQs are always a welcome approach, guys. Even for UPSC, the preliminary stage consists of MCQs. But over the academic perspective, they say that there are debates on how MCQ tests can be an honest indicator of learning. See, MCQ alone, the people feel that it cannot be a honest indicator of learning because inky pinky ponky, father as a donkey, you have a famous rhythm, right? Similarly, some people even do inky pinky ponky to give the answers also. Now to express what you want in the written format is something which has been appreciated. So now MCQ is good, but let there be MCQs at the same time, like how UPSC does. After prelims, you have the mains and then the interview. So you have every three stages which has been followed in the right manner. You understand? So now here they talk only about the so-called multiple choice questions based test as a whole. So that has been actually questioned with regard to the honesty and integrity. How can you say that keeping that one particular parameter alone, this can be an effective indicator of learning? So that is again an issue associated with the assessment process. Next is NAC accreditation. Oh my goodness, this is what every single university or every single what do you say? Every single things want perspective want out there. So if you see, so one second, guys. So basically, if you see, okay, there are a lot of issues with regard to the NAC accreditation as a whole. There is no doubt in that. With regard to the with regard to the NAC accreditation, okay, there are so many issues out there. Excuse me, guys, one second. Am I audible and visible to you people? Is everything fine? Yes. Is everything fine? Yes, Deepesh? Am I audible and visible? Is everything fine? Perfect. Yes? Yes, Deepesh? Perfect. Okay, suddenly I couldn't see anything. Everything was blank in the chat as well. Okay, done. I can see your messages now. So now, as I was telling you people regarding the so-called, challenges associated with the, the implementation of the ABC Academic Bank of Credit Card scheme, it's very important for us to have a quick look into the so-called NAC accreditation as a whole. Now, there are so many issues with regard to what with the NAC accreditation. If you see, we say that the NAC accreditation is very important. The NAC will give you A++ class scoring or B++ class scoring, etc. Whatever, it is very good. That is what it determines the strength or health of institute as a whole. So now there are various issues or challenges which are associated with the NAC accreditation also. That is point number 1. If you see, the filtering criteria in the regulation is that higher education institutes, I repeat, higher education institutes, they should have obtained A grade, or let's say higher, like A grade or A++, A++, all these things in the latest round of National Assessment and Accreditation Council, NAC accreditation. So now this is a criteria. Otherwise, the so-called thing will not be taken into consideration. That is what they are saying. Hannah. And now the so-called process called as what? The NAC process. What do? They try to measure excellence in education through some clerical statistics and bookkeeping. That is a reality, guys. Let me tell you, there are so many institutes out there. I repeat, there are so many institutes or universities out there which is way more than the so-called NAC statistics or credits, I can tell you. Many a times because of the lack of bookkeeping and clerical statistics that they are unable to provide properly, and when some of the universities or let's say institutions or colleges are able to provide indeed a lot of Kallatharamka data, they're able to get a A plus or A plus plus. We know what all Goldmal happens. Hai. So now this process of NAC, they want to measure excellence, and that excellence processes in education they'll be doing through all this bookkeeping and the clerical statistics, which is to be thought way beyond, I feel personally as well, guys, because this is one of the issues or problems associated with what? With NAC. The next thing is, if you see the universities and colleges, okay, what happens is like they actually spend an undue time. Let me tell you that they kind of spend an undue amount of time preparing record books. So then they'll be able to provide compliance with NAC criteria. So now when the faculty is actually doing this, now what some universities and colleges does is there should be a separate committee for that. Yes, PK, good morning. There should be a separate committee for that. You know what this people does? Now, when this is a condition, what happens is like the faculty, they could have spent better time improving teaching. Instead of that, they'll be doing all this, data work where they'll have to prepare the record books, so they'll have to provide complaints with NAC. So now the teaching quality is affected there actually. You cannot call it as an extra administrative work or whatever it is. Okay, it is okay to have an administrative work, but doesn't mean that when you're a teacher, you need to actually do that. But then they're wasting their time on all that and then they're coming for NAC. So I'm not saying NAC is something that is completely bad. It gives a recognition, very good. But then too much of time is spent, guys, preparing all these record books and all, which has been felt that they can actually improve it on their teaching, and that can develop better results. And thus, as a result of the so-called NAC accreditation, guys, it has resulted in several universities with different teaching and research quality, all clubbed under A or higher grade, like A+, etc., given by the NAC, that is National Assessment and Accreditation Council. Clear? Now, because of this, guys, see, NAC is given to all the higher education institutions and stuff like that. Do you think the small institutions who are doing really well will be affected with the so-called ABC credit or let's say NAC accreditation? If you see, with regard to the ABC, let's talk about the ABC now. And the small institutions, it is said that it's for higher education and also for all the big institutes as a whole. Now, because of this, guys, the ABC scheme, it also tells that the students can avail up to 70% of courses from where? From the other institutes, while they are enrolled in one particular college itself. That is what I told you. Formally, they are in one particular college. But 70% of their courses, they can even enroll from other institutes. There is a kind of multidisciplinary approach, or let's say flexibility to greater extent. So that is something which is to be understood. Yes, Tejas, good morning. That is something to be understood in the context of what the ABC scheme. And at all, if you see, the students avail these credits, okay, outside the parent college. Now, they need not enroll for what? For the corresponding in-house courses. For example, you are enrolled in one particular college. Now that you want to, enroll for some other course in some other university or college. Maybe you are having this course in the current semester, and in the college where you're enrolled currently will have it only in the next semester. So what they will do? They will enroll it outside. So it's not a necessity that you have to enroll for the same course in the college where you're put up as a whole. So this is another important point to be understood. And at the same time, as the number of teaching posts in higher education institute is calculated based on, student enrollment numbers. there are a lot of conundrums and discrepancies, my young officers. Let me tell you that with regard to what? With regard to the enrollment, because that is functioning, or so that is affecting what? That is actually affecting the functioning of all the chota bala, or let's say small kind institutions, for the fact that students would choose to learn the same course from the faculty of IIT or ISSCR based on brand name. That is true. No matter you have a very good faculty, also just because the brand name IIT and IISCR, what they will do? They will say, chalo, let us go to IIT for the brand name, for the so-called stuff, and let us get it from there. So definitely the smaller institutions are getting impacted or affected. You got the point? So this is also something to be understood. See, there are multiple opportunities, there are multiple things, but this is like, more or less we all want the best. Beat you, beat me. What do we want, guys? We want the best always. Don't you think so? Yes, because everybody of us is like that. So now when it comes to education, you cannot say that, chalo, I'm enrolled here, so I will only look at this teacher or this particular brand. No, you want to have your profile good, you want to have your academic career good. So definitely you will choose for the next best alternative, and you'll find, or let's say you'll keep shuttling out to the better opportunities you get out there. And that's why we say when opportunity comes, we have to grab it. So keeping all these things in mind, come on, this is something which is indeed a great opportunity as a whole, right? So this is also there, guys. So automatically, because of the academic bank of credit, the smaller institutions will be impacted. So for that, to avoid such kind of negative impact of the small institutions, come on, the government can do something to reduce it, which we'll be discussing in the way forward. Clear? Yes, Deepesh, what is it? Chalo, give us all of us the great good news that you have been recovered now and your doctor allowed you to work again and take class. Yes, Deepesh, I'm very fine. You can see my eyes also. I'm ekdam fine. It's like okay. I have a small swelling, but that is okay. But I'm completely fine. I can actually work, and I'm very happy that I'm on the right track. Anyway, thank you so much, my learners, for the patience that you had and the belief that you had. Chalo, ma'am will come back with a lot of josh, with a lot of vigor and vitality out there. Yeah, I'm back. So today is March 1. So March 1, you should never actually forget, Henna. It's the beginning of a month and we have to begin our day, or let's say start the, first day of the month with the classes and sessions, which is highly energetic and vibrant. That is why early morning is of 6 a.m. I started with the class out there. And today at 6 p.m. also, you will be having the sessions, guys. Don't miss it. Today you will have multiple free sessions also. Not only 6 p.m. class, you will be having, 4:30 to 5:30 a special series. And then you will have 6 to 7 and 7:30 to 8:30. There are a lot of surprises coming up. So since it is March 1, again PIB, Press Information Bureau ka, MCQs I'm planning to start. So that will start from today. 2 class. That is two parts of PIB for 5 days. 10 classes will be there. The entire PIB ka MCQs with the proper explanation and the regular 6 p.m. class. This will be done for you. Clear? So at the beginning of the week itself, I'll drill your brains because we had some break. I know that. So you'll be drilled back to track. Anyways. Now, the next important point with regard to what? With regard to the academic bank of credit and all challenges that see, though we understood regarding the importance, or let's say the opportunities and also the challenges of the so-called academic bank of credit scheme implementation, there are some importance also, guys. Simply like that, they will not bring in, right? What are the, and also to make you understand that chalo, it's important as a whole in its own way. That is, see, one way, though we know the issues of challenges also, come on, the importance is that it is kind of revamping, or let's say reforming the entire education sector and making it more vibrant and accessible. At the same time, they're also providing an opportunity for the students, so then they'll be able to tailor their degrees, or let's say make a particular or specific modifications or specializations, rather than undergoing the regularly prescribed degree or courses for a single university autonomous college. So their choices are multiple and the flexibility is multiple to make education a refined one. Okay. At the same time, it will also permit the students to choose a pace for their studies along with the associated logistics and cost. So multiple things like this is also to be understood by young officers with regard to what? With regard to this particular topic. Clear? So this is indeed a very, very interesting topic, guys, which is to be understood in that particular manner. Clear? And now, having understood this, it's also important for you to know that this will also permit the students to choose a pace for their studies along with what? The associated logistics and cost. This is something that is very, very important to be understood. So now they are able to make a choice. They are able to make a, choice with regard to what is the pace for the study that they have to choose, along with whatever cost and logistics they have to afford. So now it is making them more, cost friendly, and they're able to save up a lot of money into their pockets as well. So now in different perspectives, guys, come on, this is actually doing a great thing with regard to the ABC scheme. But though that is the case also with regard to the challenges, come on, we should also have an understanding that the issues of assessment process of MCQ, then no mention of selection process if the enrollment increased from 100 to 500, and also the issues of NAC accreditation, which is a kind of, clerical statistics and bookkeeping where you derive excellence. But NAC is something that is again important, no doubt in that. So then that is also another important point to be understood. Is it very clear, all of you? Perfect. Okay. So now, what is the conclusion that you can derive through this, guys? The conclusion that you can derive through this is, see, the so-called ABC, Academic Bank of Credit Card scheme, guys, the scheme overall has the right intentions. But then, though the intention is very good to make the education system more refined, more interdisciplinary, more flexible with multiple opportunities and better branding even for a normal student hailing from one particular state to have an access to different top universities like IIT or IISER and all, probably this would work practically in a society with a more equitable distribution of what resources. So which they're trying to say that in a country India, the so-called equitable, I repeat, the so-called, one second, the so-called equitable distribution of resource. Come on, this is to be really understood, guys. There is no doubt in that. Because for our country India, the so-called equitable distribution of resources has to be really drilled to a greater extent. Let me tell you that. If you see in our country India, we have so many issues with various problems like the variations or the fluctuations in the equality or let's say in the quality of education between institutions, then decrease or contraction in the number of teaching posts and grade inflation. There is a need for what? Revisiting the scheme. See, though it is very important, you can see n number of positive perspective with regard to the national education policy and the welcoming of the ABC scheme, that is Academic Bank of Credit scheme, but they didn't implement it. Okay, now they're saying that though all these things are there, taking into consideration the scenario of a country India and the background of it, it is very important for us to understand what, guys, very important for us to understand that chalo, we have to revisit the scheme and sort out the issues and figure out what could be done to make it more productive, to make it more efficient, and at the same time, how can we actually imbibe it to greater extent. Clear? So this is the kind of conclusion that I would give for such kind of ABC scheme topic. Clear? See, the whole fact is, practically and possibly, guys, 101% success will be given for this particular scheme with the society that has a more equitable distribution of resource. And this so-called point itself signifies or justifies the point that, come on, India, a country India, has to really, have a great look into this particular topic as a whole. Don't you think so? Because of multiple reasons. Because the quality of education itself between institution varies, the number of teaching posts is decreasing, there is a grid inflation. So now when all these things are there, don't you think so? We cannot leave it like this, because out of these, any one problem tomorrow could be the reason for the failure after implementation of this particular scheme. That cannot be the case. After putting so many effort, after putting so many things, we cannot just like that give it up like that. Hannah, we also got to understand that this has to be maintained. You got the point? So this is quite important. Did you understand? And this is a balanced conclusion for this particular Academic Bank of Credit scheme topic. Clear? So that's all, my young officers. We are done for the day. Thank you so much. So don't forget to like the video, put your valuable feedbacks in the comment box, and at the same time, suggest the new topics that you want for the upcoming sessions. So today I've told you that 4:30 to 5:30, 6 to 7, and 7:30 to 8:30, you have 3 different free special life class. 2 PIB MCQ courses and the regular 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. MCQs will be there. So don't miss the sessions, my young officers. Is it very clear? So yes, did you all enjoy the class? So what do you feel, guys, after understanding about the Academic Bank of Credit? Do you really think this has to be implemented at the earliest? Of course, there are multiple importance and opportunities with regard to the same scheme and topic, the ABC scheme or topic, in lieu with the National Education Policy of 2020. But the challenges are to be considered, and revisiting the scheme is a better way forward. I repeat, revisiting the scheme is a better way forward to avoid future challenges and to get a solid 90 to 95% success in implementation, guys, rather than for 30-40 success in the implementation of the scheme. That is the whole idea logic of the government. Clear? Yes, Sandeep. Yeah, happy Mahashivratri to you as well. Yeah, I know that today is Shivratri day. It's a festival as well for the Lord Shiva. So same to you as well and all of you there. Yeah. Any doubt, any queries, quick? And don't forget, guys, to come for the free special live class. A quick reminder to all of you. And this is an important topic again from the prelims perspective. You will get questions. Let me tell you that from the prelims perspective, you will get questions based on NEP. That is National Education Policy perspective and the related schemes and all. And even the ABC also from the prelims perspective. And from the mains perspective, you will get questions based on Chalo. Do you think the implementation of this particular scheme will be a success with regard to our country India? Because in our country India, with regard to the equitable distribution of resources, it becomes a question mark because there is not equal equitable distribution of resources in all the sectors as a whole. So taking into consideration that particular perspective, chalo, you need to really think about it. So from the mains perspective, a critical evaluation and analysis of the topic will be done. For that, the importance, the challenges and the way forward, whatever I taught you, you can use those points also. Did you understand? And for the interview perspective, UPSC, they can ask you what is your view on the NEP. How do you see or how do you think the education sector can be refined, or how can that be transformed, keeping in mind all these NEP policies, the ABC scheme and all. So how are you going to balance it? So for that, the kind of content what I gave you in the conclusion, though we have all these things highly appreciable, but then taking into consideration the factor called equality, the factor called quality of education, the grid inflation, and also decrease the number of teaching posts. We have to revisit the scheme for the betterment of our country India, because we do not want 60 to 70% success, but rather we want solid 95 to 100% success. That is what our country India requires to enable it to achieve the so-called status of being a developed economy at the earliest, because we are an emerging economy. So in all these areas we need to achieve that so-called target, or let's say the name, so we'll be able to progress in 2x or let's say 4x times faster. Did you understand? So in multiple perspective, this is what you should actually understand. Yes, Sandeep, what is it? Not so important for prelims, but can write in main. See, Sandeep, I never said it is a hit list topic for prelims. If you want to know the hit list topic in questions for prelims, do visit my 6 p.m. class called as UPSC level MCQs for prelims 2022. It was previously called as top 1000 MCQ series. Solid damn questions will come because I'm also an MCQ expert for prediction as a whole. So from NEP as a whole, it will not come, but if at all it comes, under these areas only it can come. You got the point. That is how it goes. Is it very clear, all of you? Because last year 57 plus questions came. I've done the analysis video with the proof in the YouTube itself. In the year 2020 we had 60 plus MCQs. 2019 it was 12 plus MCQs from the plus courses, from the free class courses. So whenever I do take MCQs, don't miss it, because we also do a 360-degree coverage along with the technique called as KEC. What is that? The method of keyword technique, elimination technique, and comparison technique, exclusively introduced by me. If you want to get 100% success in your examination, especially with regard to MCQs, and to solve any tricky and brainstorming MCQs, here we go. So to know more about this method and stuffs like that, do join my young officers. Yes, Sandeep? Yeah, sure, you can join. Definitely you can join. Thank you. And this is my Telegram, guys, Nisha Nujumudeen for UPSC. And also for the 6 a.m. student, there is a WhatsApp group as well. You can just send your concern number to the mail ID of the student which has been put out here. So you can stay tuned for all the notes for the other updations. So from today onwards, fatafat now itself, I'll be sharing the notes of this particular topic. So you can use them for revising as well. Clear? Is it very, very clear, all of you? Any doubt, any queries? Perfect. So yes, thank you so much, my young officers. Once again, a quick reminder to all of you, do like the video, do subscribe to the channel, and make sure that you are putting your valuable feedbacks in the comment box once the streaming is done, the live streaming is done. And also you can put forward the topics that you want for the upcoming classes with regard to the current topics in news. So accordingly, I can even discuss the same with you. Clear? So when the clock strikes 6 a.m. in the early morning, do wake up, come and start your day fresh with my sessions to have a great start of the day. And when the clock strikes 6 p.m. in the evening, come relaxingly to test what you have studied. And that is why you have the UPSC level MCQs in the free platform. The only condition is use the code Nisha IAS Live for the free class and plus class. And plus class along with the 20%. Guys, see, for my code, you get 20% discount from the fee amount, and also will come under the personal mentoring program. You can even DM me for all the details. Clear? Perfect. So yes. And today's class session, yes, Devadashni, yeah, perfect. Thank you, dear. And also what you can do is, you can even come for the PIB classes. I'll share the links of PIB class as well. Yes, Sandeep, where can I find the PDF of the topics in MCQ? See, Sandeep, for MCQ in the app itself, Unacademy app itself, once the class is done, automatically it will be uploaded. And for the so-called, YouTube class, I have a separate group where I keep uploading it. Clear? That's it. Perfect. So yes, have a great start of the day, guys. I'll see you all in the evening. Once again, a small reminder for all of you, keep this quote in mind. The pages of yesterday cannot be revised, but the pages of tomorrow and today, they are blank. And you hold the pen. So make an inspiring story. So I should see this in your life as well, be it personal, be it professional, because this is going to give you wonderful success. So once again, a great happy morning to all my young officers. Welcome the month of March with a lot of motivations, with a lot of enthusiasm and the so-called attitude. Yes, you're never going to give up in whatever you're doing and continue the habit of your preparation more effectively. Take care. Yes, Deva, ma'am, 6 a.m. class PPT. It will be shared soon. Give me 10 minutes. In the 6 a.m. WhatsApp group, I'm sending it. The newcomers can also join the group. Okay, in the 6 p.m. class, I'll pin the links. Accordingly, you can revise. Is it clear? And today I could see a lot of learners also in the class. Thank you so much for showing so much of love in the early morning class itself with such more than 100 plus crowd today. I'm really happy to see that progress. So keep continuing this, my learners. Thank you so much. See you all soon in the evening. Till then, bye-bye. Thank you. Take care and Jai Hind.